All right, guys. So, first of all, this was supposed to be a countdown to reaching our funding goal, but it now is just a celebratory live stream because we reached the Kickstarter goal. We made it, and as of right now, we're about $500 over goal. So that's really awesome too. And what we're actually going to do with that money is we're going to do a nicer graphic novel. So I did a little bit of get a estimate from the printer, and we're going to do. We were already doing matte laminate covers, which is like those really soft, nice anti-scratch covers for the book. And what we're going to do now is we're going to do that on top of making nicer, thicker pages for the book, and also UV spotting, which is always something I've always been a big fan of. So you get like that little. So the characters will be glossy. The rest of it will be matte,
which is super awesome.
Yeah,
super awesome.
It's the best. It's the best covers.
It's the best kind of cover.
It is. So yeah. So with that extra funding, we're gonna do that. So those are kind of like little mini stretch goals, I guess you could call it, kind of like unofficial stretch goals. Didn't really want to do stretch goals because this was my first Kickstarter, and I didn't want to get confused by all of that stuff. So we kind of just kept it simple. So with that in mind, thank you everybody for making this happen. This is awesome. I was kind of scared we weren't going to make it for a while, for the whole time, even when we like almost funded.
Pretty much the whole time.
Yeah, it was really stressful. Let me see if anybody's like posting to my other stuff to see. Anybody's telling me that they can't see us or hear us this time, because last time we did the stream, we were streaming off the air. There's a button on Kickstarter Live, so if anybody wants to do Kickstarter Live,
make sure you press it.
Yeah, there's a button that hides itself really fast. The green button says go on the air. We didn't see it, so we didn't hit it, and we were talking to a blank screen for 30 minutes. It's embarrassing, but this time it's actually on air. I keep checking. It says now it's on air. All right, so good deal.
So we're good to go.
Yeah.
Hopefully everyone can hear us okay.
Anyway, so here we are. This is my wife, Desiree Pittman. She's actually doing one of the pinups for the book. There is, I believe, 10 or 11 artists in the book. We've gotten about half of the artwork in already. The other half is still to go, but their deadline is going to be like around May 7th. So hopefully May 7th, we will get the funding from Kickstarter to process and go through. And around that time, that's when I want to take the book to print. I'm estimating the delivery time for it to be September. That's when you guys should be like getting it, or actually leaving my house, our warehouse.
Yes, our garage.
The garage. Yeah. So, whoa! I almost fell into the camera. So yeah. So that's when that's going to hopefully happen. Granted that like everything goes, we're gonna get proofs. That's going to take 2 weeks. So the whole process, if the proofs come back good, and I prove it, then from then it will take up to 2 months, 6 weeks to 8 weeks to get the final books. So I'm hoping to have the books in hand by beginning or end of July, early August. And worst case scenario, probably end of August. So yeah. So anyway, anytime during this stream, you guys can totally ask questions. We're just going to hang out and talk about the things that we like and kind of make us artists or creators of whatever. So also, I got some other stuff to show you. First thing I want to show you guys to also, because I know that I said that the book is 100% finished. I just wanted to show you. These are the original issues that they came out of. So this is physical proof that these books are done.
It is done.
And this is not like a bank, like a drug deal or anything where, handing you a stack of $100 bills and there's like newspaper in between, $100 bills. There is artwork in here. These aren't like blank pages.
It's all 100% done.
Yeah. So like, and I can show you guys how the book is actually made. This was done like through Kablam originally. So these were like some of the getting a little glare on there. There we go. These are the original page, some of the original pages. This is the way that it worked. Was I did the colors of the superhero in like just flat colors, and then the rest of the book black and white. Like I said, just to separate that reality from fantasy and keep the superheroes kind of colorful and fantastic, like they were when we read superhero comics when we were kids. So anyway, yep, those are the 3 books. These are the books that will be in the collected in the graphic novel. Complete, 100% done. So you don't have to worry about that. Everything is done. And I know how to format a book because it's in there.
Know what I'm doing.
Some of the other stuff, these are some of the other things that are already kind of in production.
Some rad prints. Yeah,
these are the prints. They're huge. Well, these are the posters. So there's 2 different things in the rewards. The sub $125 reward tiers. So like the $25 and up tiers until you get to the $125. Those are the prints. Those are going to be 8 by 10. These are the full size posters. These come with the last 3 tiers, the 125, the 350, and then the 700. So these are actual artwork size because I work on 11 by 17 paper. So we got the Dark Knight Returns one. Yeah, sure, you can take that. This is the Web of Spider-Man tribute cover. And then this is the All-Star Superman. This one's my favorite because the War for Kaleb is kind of is very much inspired by one of the stories in All-Star Superman, which is the Bizarro story, and also some of the design that I did. Like I did the short capes, and I kind of was trying to draw the capes like Frank Quietly did because I love the way that he draws cloth and form. So I really wanted to get that kind of like childlike cape to the Light and Dark Kalebs with these like little torso length capes goes to the back of their knees. I really like that for some reason. I don't like. Thank you. I don't like those like big crazy capes. Those are kind of weird sometimes. So. So yeah, that's the 11 by 17 prints. The 8 by 10 will be the same ones, except obviously they'll just be smaller. Also, if anybody wanted to, because the Kickstarter is still live, there's still plenty of original artwork left. These are the actual pages. As you can see, I do everything by hand, lettering, the inking, everything, all of it. I just like that. When I went to school, I kind of learned that all of this is, I always like to think of it in terms of like, what would the final original artwork look like? Like if you were to take this and hang it on your wall, like this is, to me, this is a piece of art. And they're not knocking people who do stuff on computers and there's no original art available. It's just, this is just my personal preference. So like, like this is all the lettering, everything is part of the artwork to me. So that's the way that I like to work. Also, another thing is, I don't know if you'll be able to see. Oh yeah, you can see it.
Yeah, you can see that.
I work on the backs of these
Not like art board pages.
Yeah, exactly, because I don't like the blue lines on my artwork because again, I'm just thinking about in terms of what it's going to look like hanging on somebody's wall. Oh, this is the cover of the graphic novel.
Hey.
Yeah, this is already been pledged for, which is awesome. So one lucky person is going to have that bad boy hanging on their wall. And you can see like all the people and stuff on there.
The wave of people.
Yeah. But yeah, that is going to one lucky person there. Here's this is one of my favorite pages. I'm a really big fan of like really long vertical panels. But yeah, that's one of my favorite pages right there. And also love doing city scenes. Lots of city scenes, especially in the last part of the book.
I think everyone else likes your city scenes as well.
Yeah, yeah, I hope so.
Everyone's always usually pretty blown away by your detail in your cities, scenes, and your buildings.
You can blame the early '90s for that. They kind of made me obsessive compulsive about wanting to do like real big city scenes and lots of detail, stuff like that. This is from the third part as well. This is one of our friends, Jillian Lambert's favorite scenes. The dream sequence. And then I think the last is, this is one of the covers from the third part. Yeah, from the third issue. I think that's it. Yep, there we go. And for comparison, just so you know, the posters are the same size as the original artwork. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the artwork and all the Kickstarter stuff. So yeah, if you want to, we can start talking about like why we do what we do. Des and I met in the School of Visual Arts. We took classes there. It's funny because we took a writing for comics class that we never once spoke to each other in, and we didn't start talking again until like MySpace.
After I graduated.
Yeah, after you graduated.
I found you after I graduated.
She was stalking me online.
on MySpace.
On MySpace, the good old school.
Yes.
The pre-Facebook days. So yeah, we took some classes there. That's where we met, and a lot of formative stuff that happened there with some of the books that we were getting into at the time. What are some of the things that you liked growing up as an artist that helped make you an artist today?
Well, I guess it started, I mean, I've always been drawing, but my Uncle Johnny, he was really big in the comics, and he got me in the comics, and I don't read it so much anymore, but Cry for Dawn was like one of the first comics I really got into.
Right.
So, and I don't even think I really read it when I was younger. I think I just enjoyed the artwork. Yeah. So, I mean, I got it just to look at the art.
Yeah, well, you don't read as many comics as like I do. I read a whole lot more comics. I mean, Des reads comics too, but I read a lot more broader range.
Yeah,
you don't read like any of the superhero.
Yeah, no,
stuff.
I read more like indie comics and stuff like that. I'm not into that. Not that I'm not into superhero stuff. It's just
it's not as appealing.
Yeah, it's not as appealing to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, so you like more slice of life stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Blankets is one of your favorite books, right?
Yes, Blankets is one of my favorite books. It is super awesome. And a teacher of mine from SVA, Tom Hart, actually had lent me this book to read, and that's how I got into discovering who Craig Thompson was, who's flippin' amazing. Yeah, he really is. His just like his inking is just absolutely beautiful. Like, I'm trying to open it up here. For those of you who don't know Craig Thompson, he's phenomenal. Yeah, he does a lot of really good dry brush stuff. Yeah, he does amazing. I mean, this is also a very big book. Yeah, I think he's about the same age as I am, and I read that book when it came out, and I swear it was like reading. It was like reading my 16-year-old life. You know, going somewhere, visiting family, and then finding this girl that you really fall in love with, and they live so far away. Yeah. And they help form you as a person, and then you realize that, oh, you know, things don't work out exactly the way that you might hope when you're that age, when you're 15 or 16, and everything means so much, but it really doesn't mean anything at all, you know? But I mean, he captures that like it's made of magic. This seriously is like one of my favorite books. And I actually I have a soft cover version, which I read so many times, and it was kind of starting to
It's all busted
It's all
up.
busted up because I've just read it so much.
It's just been loved so much.
Yeah, so Jason was awesome and got me this nice hardcover one.
It's got a little sketch in it too.
Yes, we actually got to meet Craig Thompson. He was signing comic books out here, and I brought all my books for him to sign.
Yeah, here in Portland.
So I even drew a little picture of one of the characters in the story, which is super awesome. Yeah, just go in there with my giant pile of books, and we're waiting online. She's like, hey, here's 1 billion books for you to sign. So it's like, all right, cool. So he also did another book, which came out, one of his more recent ones, Habibi. This is also very amazing.
Yeah, that is very good.
So it could be a little rough to read, like some parts.
Yeah,
not rough as in like you can't read it. It's just like what's actually happening in the story is like really sad.
Yeah, it deals with a lot of like abuse towards women and stuff like that. So yeah, it is. I mean, it's a great story, but it can be very difficult because not to show like any kind of graphic images or anything.
I'm not going to show that.
We'll break some kind of terms of service or something.
This looks okay, right? I think I can show this page here.
Yeah. As long as there's no like
there's no nudity
or anything.
So, but I mean, again, his brushwork is just so phenomenal. It's like, God.
Yeah, and a lot of Dez's artwork, particularly the piece, and if you go to the Kickstarter page and go to the updates, you can see Dez's piece that she did for our book. You can totally see the influence that Craig Thompson had on Dez, especially like the way that she does her brushwork and stuff. And you also have Harrow County down there.
Yes.
Because we're both big horror fans.
Yes.
We love horror. Bad. It's got to be really good or really bad.
Yeah.
Like, and horror's really good at doing that.
Yes, it's definitely.
Like, even the really bad stuff can be really, really good.
Mm-hmm. But Harrow County is really awesome. A little behind on a lot of the issues, but we got the 4th paperback here, right? Yeah, we got 1 through 4. So, because we don't like to collect single issue books, just like
not big into single issue stuff.
Rather wait for it to come out in a little thicker version. So we got a few in here we can read through, but Tyler Crook is absolutely also amazing. Yeah,
we met him at the Oregon Coast Con at the beginning. The end of last month.
Yeah,
March, like right when the Kickstarter launched. We got to meet him. We talked my moms into going over there and buying up all his books.
Buying all his books, which they did.
Yeah, I felt bad because like he didn't have a very good con that day. I don't think he wasn't selling too well that day. And then my moms come over and they buy like every single volume of Harrow County.
Which so really surprises me because he does the most amazing, like his colors are just so phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like look how awesome that is.
Yeah, that's all hand painted.
Yeah, that's all.
It's amazing. It's gouache, he said.
Yeah. It's absolutely amazing. But this is a really good story too. So there's a couple trade paperback. That's what it's called, right? Yeah, there's a couple trade paperbacks out right now.
There's more than a couple. It's like 7, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So there's 7.
Couple means 2.
Couple means
We're
2.
a couple.
There are a few.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love his artwork, and he's such a cool guy. Went over and talked to him, and was looking at he had all his original pages on the table, and I was just like, oh my god, like I could just drool all over these pages. They're just so awesome.
And she did, and we had to pay for them.
No, we didn't. I didn't do that.
You break it, you buy it.
But yeah, he's a super nice guy, and he was actually. I gave him your book. Gave him 3 issues of your book. And he was awesome enough, and he actually just did a trade for one of his because we gave him some nice.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we got his newest trade.
That's so that was like super nice.
Trading books, wheeling and dealing.
Yeah, trading books.
What you selling?
What you buying?
All right. So yeah, I can go through a bunch of some of the stuff that is my favorite books of all time. I got quite a stack. So, like, so. When this is going back to the SVA days, I discovered this book, Pop Gun War. I was collecting it in the single issues. Farrell Dalrymple, he actually went to school with us, or not with us, but he went to the same school as us. He graduated like a few years.
I'm sorry, I just realized Craig Thompson actually had a little blurb on the back there.
He sure does. Yeah, more Craig Thompson.
That's awesome.
Did a blurb on the back of this book, but Yeah, this book was like, so when I went to SVA, I found this book and also found Tiny Giants, which is a collection of Nate Powell's
how
short
could I
stories.
forget Nate Powell?
Yeah, I got some Nate Powell stuff in my stack, so we'll talk about him too.
Yeah, because his stuff's awesome too.
Yeah, but
I didn't prepare myself well. I'm sorry.
Well, that's why I got you up 30 minutes early.
Yeah, okay.
She's like, "Oh, let me sleep 15 more minutes, and I'll."
Yeah, that's my bad. I had to take a nap because I got no sleep last night.
Yeah, yeah. Poor Des. She had a bad reaction to allergy shots.
Yeah, I had to give me an EpiPen. That wasn't fun.
Yeah, so she was kind of up all night.
But I'm good now.
She was on Monster Energy drinks, like 10 of them.
But I'm sorry. We can continue talking about this stuff.
So yeah, this was like when I first discovered like true like underground indie comics. And like I said, this was it got a Xeric grant for the first issue he did, and then I found it at some of the stores in the area around SVA, and this was like the first time I saw like self-published like really indie comics. Here's some pages from the first issue. It's like really awesome and gritty.
Yeah,
and that's what I love about it. It's like really awesome brushwork and like really dirty. Like I love grittiness. I like the stuff that makes it feel real earthy and just kind of like sometimes it looks like there are accidents happening on the page, and I think that's exactly that. And that's why I like that's why I do everything by hand also, is because I like the stuff that looks like it wasn't completely intentional, because sometimes the unintentional stuff is like the best stuff. The things that you did not mean to do. You go, oh shit, I messed that up, and then you go, oh, you know what, that's better than what I was planning. Yeah, I found this at the time, and this was one of those moments that's like, oh my god, it was like rediscovering comics again. There's been a few of those times. One was when I've talked about this in other things like podcasts and stuff, but like there were a few moments in my life that helped me like discover and then rediscover comics. Like the first thing that I discovered was Wolverine. And I'd read comics when I was a kid, but when I was like 11 or 12, that was when I found out that comics could be really dark. And still this day, I like comics really dark.
Mm-hmm.
I like the dark stuff.
Yeah.
I like humor too, but I don't like it as much as drama and like just darkness, grittiness.
It's cool if it's a little peppered in there.
Yeah, I there's nothing wrong with funny stuff, but people have a hard time making me laugh in a comic book. It's not very easy. It's not them, it's probably me. But so I like the stuff that's a lot more serious, stuff like that. So yeah, that's one of them.
Carl's definitely super awesome.
Yeah, he lives out here in Portland.
Yeah.
We
met him a few times.
Yeah, exactly. And on that note, here's another one. Nate Powell.
Yes.
We discovered him. He does March, but this is one of my favorite books of his.
It's super awesome.
This is one of his books that he wrote. He drew March, which is an amazing book. If you want a good book to cry,
yeah,
March is one of them. But this is one I wanted to show because I'm really big on like one-man shows. So like people who write and draw their own stuff. I think almost everything in my stack is that kind of stuff. But so this is another book that's really good to show, because this is a book about mental illness. It's about a boy with schizophrenia, who's schizophrenic, and then his sister who is obsessive compulsive. And Nate works in black and white, just like Craig Thompson Farrell. And he does like these really awesome vignettes. So there's a whole lot of borderless panels. And also the way that he inks looks like the stuff, like the ink is kind of flowing around on the page by itself.
Oh yeah,
it's really insane.
What's cool too is if you look at like because he posts a lot when he's working on stuff, his pencils are pretty simple. Yeah, and he does a lot of more of the detail just with the ink, so it's like really awesome to see the progress.
And tons of black on the page.
Yes.
Like so much black. It's so great. It's really graphic stuff.
Yeah, I wish I could
Real moody.
be more like that. I'm always afraid to add too much black on a page. It's like I can't take a patch on here.
Black it out. Like that desk. Look, it's just a desk, but the way that he draws it, it looks so amazing and moody. It's just, it's like it's being enveloped by the rest of the page, by all the black. So yeah, this was a great book if you want another really good book on mental health, mental illness. It's really, really, really excellent book. Nate draws and writes this one. Let's see. Trying to go in order, like, to my favorite books of all time here. So All-Star Superman. This was a really big influence on the War for Kaleb. Particularly the again, like I said, the Bizarro story. I like artists that can draw stillness real well, like people not doing anything dramatic. That is like a really big deal to me. You know, that's the cover. It's just Superman's back, but it looks so good, like the way the cape flows and folds over. And I also love the way that this guy has probably got the best economy of line I've ever seen. And what I mean by that is, like, he doesn't draw a lot of lines, but he makes every single one of them count. So you feel the roundness of his characters. Like, everything feels very, like, forming and round, and like you could grab it right out of the page. You know, and this is also like one of the, and I'm talking about Frank Quietly. I'm sorry, I don't know if I said that or not.
No, you did not.
So that's the artist here, is Frank Quietly. The story is amazing too. This is probably like considered one of the best Superman comics of all time. Written by Grant Morrison. But so yeah, this had a lot of influence on the War for Kaleb. Just the way that I wanted to deal with the costumes. So I didn't want them to be, and you'll see in the sketchbook that's going to be in the graphic novel itself. I didn't want the costume to be like too busy. I find like there's too much busyness in costumes today. I want to be more simple and memorable and iconic. When you're doing like costumes in, I think, superhero movies and stuff nowadays, they do that. They make like all these lines and they make it look like armor, and that's really cool and it's practical. But in when they're drawn, I think that they become real busy, and I don't like that. I like it where it's just like, I don't need to be shown that Batman has armor. I believe it. Yeah. Because it's a comic book. It's fantasy. So I don't really need to worry about all of that stuff. And then we got the OG independent creators, Eastman and Laird's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This is the original stuff. I got the works because it's in color. The originals were in black and white. And if you want gritty, this is like the definition of gritty. This is like just dirty, feels like dirty old New York City. So big unwielding book. Yes, there we go. You guys are going to help me out here. Like, and they did a really good job on the color. I need your help, Des. You're pushing it close.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
They did a really good job on the color work. Usually, like, when they do these comics that were not in color in the first place, they just like, I don't care, we slap it on there, and it doesn't work. And then I remember there's a version of this that came out a while back, and the colors were not well done. I think they got rid of like the duotone in it. Duotone is like an old school way of creating tones back in the day. We actually used it in the Kubert school. You draw on this piece of paper and then you use this chemical to bring out the duotones. There's like two chemicals. One of the chemicals will bring out one of the hatching lines, and the other chemical will bring out the other hatching line. So you could do just hatching, or if you brought in both chemicals, you could do cross hatching. And it was really neat, but it's not very archival, I think, if I'm not mistaken. kind of like Zipatones, not very archival. It yellows over time. So these other editions that they had, not the ones that came like a decade or so before this one, got rid of like all the duotones and zipatones out of it, and it just didn't look the same. It was like all flat and weird looking. I didn't like it, but these are like the works. These are great. It's kind of funny that the works are like look like a pizza box because the original intro didn't eat pizza.
Yeah, I think that's funny.
You know, I know why they did it. It's iconic, and it still looks cool. It looks great.
There's 5 of those, right?
Yeah, there's 5 volumes of it, and I think it just collects what Eastman and Laird worked on, Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. But these guys were like, it was funny when I discovered this stuff when I was a kid. Was shortly after I started getting into comic books with Wolverine and stuff like that. And I was watching the Ninja Turtles cartoon, and then I picked up one of these issues on the shelf at a bookstore. And it was like in black and white, and all the Ninja Turtles had red bandanas, and I was going, what the hell is going on here? This is weird. And I opened it up, and it was like really dark and violent, and Ninja Turtles were saying stuff like damn. I was like, oh man, the Ninja Turtles saying damn, that's crazy. And
this is the best.
Yeah, I was like, wow, I can be a Ninja Turtle and feel a little adult at the same time. And so that kind of helped mold me. After that, it was like the cartoon and the other stuff just couldn't do it for me. It was kind of broke me. I mean, I probably still enjoyed it, and but just not as much as like this stuff. This stuff is really good. And these stories, I was thinking that when I got this book, I was like, oh, it'll probably be fun for nostalgia because it probably didn't age well, but these stories age very well. They're very imaginative. They don't care about like not being weird, which is good. I think weird is awesome. I mean, you can get lost in weird, and some things pay the price for it, but this is not one of them. This was focused in it, and it had really good character development and good character arcs, especially with Leonardo and Raphael, who's my favorite, Raphael. And oh, he's your favorite too?
I've always liked, ever since I saw the movie when it came out, the first movie.
Oh yeah, the first movie is so good. Yeah.
I was like, he's so awesome.
It's because he had that Brooklyn. Des is originally from New York, and he had that Brooklyn accent.
Yes,
Raphael did.
Luckily, I don't have that accent.
Oh no, there's nothing wrong with that accent. I thought it was cute. You kind of lost the accent over the years. She had I remember talking to her first time on the phone, and she had a little hint of a Long Island accent. Mom's got a real thick Long Island accent.
Oh yeah.
But Des has like a little bit of one. So it was really cute. But I think you kind of lost it over the years. Either that or I just got real used to it. People always make her say hot dog.
Hot dog and coffee.
Yeah, and coffee.
Coffee.
Coffee. So yeah, that's the Ninja Turtles. I love these guys. These original stories are some of the best comics I've ever read. And speaking of the best comics I've ever read, these are my two favorites. First one is boom, Akira. Now I own Akira 3 times because it's that good, and I read it 4 times, 2 this year. And here's the thing. I don't know if you guys can see it. Those right there, that is the complete collection of the very rare, very hard to collect color Epic Comics edition of Akira. My awesome job this year they really liked me at my job. I've been working over there for a little over a year, I think, at the time, and they got me those as a my boss and stuff got me those as like a thank you present,
rather than like a bonus of here's some money for being a good employee for your bonus. We're gonna get you.
Yeah. So yeah, it's and okay, so there's these things in your life, right, where you're like building up the idea of something in your head, and then you find you're like you want something so bad. And I wanted those comics forever, but they're really hard to collect. So
they didn't make that many, right?
Yeah, well, they made a bunch of like the first issues, and then as it went along, they made less and less in the runs. So, for instance, the very last issue is the hardest one to get. I believe it's number 38. And it's also the first computer colored comic book ever.
Yes.
And don't let that fool you, because the colors are really good. Like, you could see that people bled for it. I read an article about how it was made, and it sounds excruciatingly painful. I would never wish that process on anybody ever. But yeah, look it up, Steve Olaf, Akira Color Comics. You can find the article about. He talks about it. It's really interesting if you ever want to check that out. But anyway, so what I was saying is that when you build something up in your mind, you finally get it, and you're like, oh, this wasn't as good as I thought it would be, right? This is not that. This is my prized possession in my entire comic book collection. That set right there is as amazing as I would hope it would be. I still prefer it in black and white because you can really like get the artwork out of it. You can really like, especially so. Katsuhiro Otomo is, I think, the master of detail.
Oh yeah.
And Des was talking about the way that I draw cities, and particularly the third issue of The War for Kaleb is very inspired by this, and Mobius probably. Those two guys, I think, are kind of like, they're probably on par with each other as far as legendary and also a master of their craft. There's not a lot of masterpieces that I would, or a lot of comic books that I would consider masterpieces. Akira is one of them. This book to me is flawless. The artwork is just mind-boggling, insane.
Yeah, the detail.
And I find one of the things that I find weird is that I talk to a lot of people, and they say that they're into manga and anime, and I ask them, oh, like, look at that. There's something not right here with this. I mean, come on, who would put themselves through this? That's insane. And it's amazing. But anyway, I meet people who say, oh, I've never I read manga, or I watch or I watch anime, and I say, oh, do you read Akira? And they're like, I don't even know what that is. And I find that crazy. That would be like saying, oh, I like sci-fi and I don't know what Star Trek or Star Wars is. I'm not saying that they should have read it. Just the fact that they don't know what it is kind of crazy. And I'm not judging. But you know, I tell people, oh, you definitely should check this out. It's also very fast-paced. So, like, this book is, I believe, 2,600 pages altogether, give or take. And it reads really, really fast. You could get through this entire set right here in easily, like, a couple of days if you wanted to, or even a day if you're, like, really hardcore and you really read fast. There's not a lot of dialogue, a lot of wasted dialogue. And there's a lot of nuance and subtlety in it that you have to like really pick up on, because the book is dense in the sense that there's a lot going on with the plot that's not explained, but I feel like it's there. I mean, I feel like I really get it at this point, but it's one of those things where you have to look at it a few times to really like get it. Oh, here we go. Yep. That's look at this. That's crazy. You got to be like, what kind of obsession would lead somebody to doing something like this? This is like serial killer stuff. Like, this is how you become a serial killer. But unfortunately, he didn't become a serial killer. He's just making amazing comics. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Akira is the second best comic I've ever read. One of the top 10 best stories I've ever experienced, be it film, TV, comics, cartoons, whatever. This thing is amazing. Makes me cry. It's about brotherhood, a lot of brotherhood. It's also about the grayness that is in humanity. it's hard to figure out who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. And I love stories like that. I like, oh, you're on one guy's side 1 minute and not the other guy's side then at the same time, and then vice versa the next minute. You just go, okay, I kind of see what this guy's saying now. Love those types of stories. I don't believe that most people, humanity in the world, for the most part, people have good ideas and bad ideas all at the same time, and we do good things, we do bad things. That's the way that works. And this is my favorite book of all time, be it novel or comic. And this is probably the book that made me who I am today, more than any other book. And that's The Dark Knight Returns. This is somebody's at the door.
I will get the door.
Des will be back. There's somebody at the door. I don't know why. We don't ever have visitors. So I'll talk about The Dark Knight Returns. This is the book that made me who I am in comics more than any other book. Frank Miller, the way that he broke down this character in a very simple, different way, but still retained the integrity that is Batman, is just phenomenal. He basically made it to where you realize, oh, Batman he's not a healthy person mentally, and he's kind of broken. And in this, because, I'm sure most people know what The Dark Knight Returns is, but he's 10 years after retirement, so he's in his early mid-50s, something like that. And he comes out of retirement because he can't not be Batman. He's obsessive compulsive, borderline personality disorder. You come to realize that he's practically schizophrenic, and he's a little bit of a fascist. But again, this is one of those books where everybody speaks, and I'm talking about everybody, Joker, left-wing people, right-wing people, and that's kind of what you're thinking about with especially the Superman Batman dynamic, who's on the right sides of what. But you can find something to agree with everybody and disagree with everybody. The main characters, the secondary characters, the villains, even Joker. You're like, wow, I totally get what he's saying sometimes, as weird as that might sound. Also, one of the things I really love about these books is the number of panels he stuffs on a page. I noticed that, I don't know if I do it on purpose, but in The War for Kaleb, the last issue, I noticed I was putting a lot of panels on some of the pages. I'm sorry?
I'm back.
Yes, Des is back.
It was just the mailman.
Oh, did he deliver something, I guess?
He put a bigger package in the mailbox, so
okay.
He just wanted us to know it was there.
And now we know. So anyway, yeah, I mean, every page is just chock full of panels, but it's not like you can't understand what's going on, and it doesn't, and it still keeps the action moving really well. So I was talking about Frank Quietly and his economy of line in his artwork. Frank Miller, I think, in this book does the same thing with dialogue. So he says the stuff that kind of cuts to the bone, where you've got someone like Alan Moore, which is really awesome too, but he's really wordy. I prefer somebody like Frank Miller, who is less wordy and just gets to the point and says very memorable stuff. I love memorable dialogue. Stuff that this scene with the mutant leader, oh no, it's not this scene. I'm sorry. It's the one where he's actually fighting him the second time, where he's like, "This is not a mud hole. This is an operating table," and I'm the surgeon. That's just good, simple dialogue. It's just a few lines and that's it. And particularly the Joker Batman scenes are really great too, because he brings this new dynamic to Joker and Batman, and this is pre-Harley Quinn too. So there's no woman getting in the way of this relationship. These two, at least Joker, Frank Miller wrote him as if Joker was in love with him, and there are a lot of homosexual themes going on in here, and I don't think that I don't think that what he was trying to say is that Joker is homosexual. It could be argued that, but I think that he's not in love with. He's not attracted to men. He's in. Oh, thank you. Just become backer number 140. What just became backer? Does it tell me who you are? It doesn't say. It just says just became backer. So somebody became a backer.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, whoever you are. It might have been a guest. So anyway, what I was saying is I don't think that he is in love with men. He's in love with Batman. Just Batman. So he's bat-sexual, if anything. Like
he's obsessed with Batman.
He is obsessed with Batman. You know, because they do the whole thing where like Joker's basically practically catatonic almost to a degree, and then once Batman comes out of retirement, Joker becomes
kind of snaps out of it.
Exactly. Yeah, and that also reinforces that theme that these villains only exist because Batman showed up. You know, that's it. If the Bat doesn't come out to play, neither does the villains. And that's really great. And Frank Miller nails that. And the thing is that he nails it without telling you that's what he was intending. There's a lot of things in storytelling nowadays that I think people try and spell out things for everybody nowadays. That's a really big pet peeve of mine. I like there to be enough there that people get it, but they don't. But they have to go looking for it at the same time. The story's there; it's all intact. But when you start reading it a few times, there's a lot of nuances that start kind of like seeping up through the cracks of the surface of the story. So those are like some of our favorite books, like comics and stuff. Are there any like movies that you want to talk about? I know you got favorite movies.
I know. I'm trying to think of them because I have a lot of favorite movies.
Well, I know your all-time favorite movie is Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes.
I remember you said one time it was Clockwork Orange, but
I still love Clockwork Orange, but no, Nightmare Before Christmas is by far my favorite.
Yeah. You got your mug. She's got her mug.
I do.
Oh yeah, and we just talked about Batman. I got my Batman mug.
My Jack mug, which is awesome. Yeah, I love that movie so much. It's a great movie because you can watch it for Christmas and Halloween.
When was the first time you watched that movie?
I saw it in the movie theater.
Oh, did you?
When it came out. Was
it one of those things where you're just like, oh, I'm like in love with this?
Yeah, I don't remember how old I was. What year did that movie come out?
It was, I think, like 92 or 3. Yeah.
So I was in...
maybe 94. I can't remember.
So I think I was in middle school.
I have a phone.
Yeah.
I can IMDb it.
You can tell me how old I was because I can't do math. But no, I love Tim Burton in general. I love Nightmare Before Christmas. Frankenweenie. I love Frankenweenie so much.
93.
93. So how old was I in 93?
You were born in 83, so you tell me.
Oh, okay. I was 10.
Just making sure. Math. I have to help Des with her basic math.
I'm really bad at math.
I challenge her.
Gotta keep me on my toes.
Gotta keep her on her toes. That's right.
But no, I love Tim Burton a lot, and I love his like. Have you seen like his artwork, his drawings, and stuff like that? Oh yeah, like they're awesome.
Yeah, our friend Lydia, she's the one who has that book, right? The Tim Burton book, artwork book. I could have sworn you were looking at it and you really loved it.
I don't think it was Lydia.
No?
No.
Okay. Well, somebody
has it. I don't remember who.
Yeah.
But yeah, somebody has it, and it's super awesome.
Yeah, it's really dark, and I mean, obviously, he's Tim Burton. Everything he does is dark.
But yeah, definitely like that. I remember the first time I actually went to visit SVA before I like started going there, and whoever we were talking to that was kind of showing us around took me into one of the little animation studios, and they had a bunch of stop motion like sets set up that like students had made. And I remember thinking how freaking awesome that was. So that's why I'm like super pumped. Is it Leica?
I don't know.
I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
Yeah, the people who do Paranorman, Box Trolls, and
Kubo.
Kubo, yeah.
Yeah, they actually have a display out here right now at the Portland Art Museum, which goes to next month. So I want to see that. Jason already got to see it with his family. I had to work.
It was amazing. Yeah.
So
it's crazy to see that stuff in person because
you don't realize how big it is.
Yeah, they're not like action figures like these guys right here. They're like the size of probably these two shelves put together, just the figures that they use. And then you got to take into account, like, yeah, the figures are big. They're like, probably 18, 24 inches, somewhere around that, give or take. But then you got to think about the sets that you have to build for
said characters.
Exactly, for something that big is crazy. And the sets were beautiful, like real intricate, real detailed. The paint on it is amazing.
Yeah.
And they have like the little faces of each thing that they swap out and all that mess. It's amazing. So yeah, we're gonna go back and see that again before
it's gone, because I want to see it.
Yeah, it's really good.
Definitely love Tim Burton. Trying to think. I mean, I guess I could delve into some horror stuff there. Yeah, we got to was it last year or the year before? One of my favorite werewolf movies of all time is American Werewolf in London.
Mm-hmm.
That werewolf, that werewolf still scares me to this day. It's just a creepy, awesome thing. And one of the theaters out here, there's a few theaters that play like second run movies, and they actually were playing that for Halloween one year, and we went and saw it. To see that on the big screen was absolutely amazing. It was even creepier than just like watching it on our TV with the lights out or something.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it's just like, especially when they're on the moor scene, it's just all dark, and you just hear the wolf howling and stuff. I'm just like, oh man, this is great.
Yeah, that's one of the awesome things about living in Portland, is that they show like older movies that you might not have ever gotten a chance to see in the theater.
Oh yeah, we just saw Neverending Story.
Saw Neverending Story.
I never got to see that.
Alien, and Aliens. We saw both of those.
Yeah.
We have a theater called Hollywood Theater, and they will run 75 millimeter movies sometimes. We only seen one though. I think we saw the
Hateful Eight.
Yeah, Hateful Eight, and
we saw The Fly there too.
Oh yeah, we saw The Fly.
Cronenberg's The Fly.
Yeah, Cronenberg. All the Cronenbergs, Morty. Cronenberg world.
Yeah, that was really awesome. Yeah, anything horror. I guess that's why I like I've done a lot of like zombie portraits for people, like commissions and drawings and stuff like that.
Yeah, she does really good horror stuff. You do a lot of like you've been doing those mermaids, but you've also been doing a lot of like succubuses or succubi. I don't know the plural
need
for
need to delve into that conversation again.
Succubinkins, murder of succubi.
But yeah, I really like horror themed stuff. Especially like I wouldn't even say it's horror though. Day of the Dead, that's not really horror per se. That's just like a holiday to celebrate like people that have passed on, like celebrate loved ones.
It's not. Yeah,
that's not horror.
Yeah,
but I like drawing that stuff as well though. But yeah, definitely did a lot of zombie stuff, which is fun. I just like drawing creepy things.
Yeah, and she's very good at it, which is why she's in the book. I did not put her in the book just because she's my wife.
Yes.
She does an amazing job as an amazing artist. Sometimes I look at the things that she's drawn as like, oh my God, I wish I could draw like that, But
that's funny. I think of that when you're drawing stuff too.
I think what it is I think she's envious of my backgrounds. I'm envious of her figures.
Yeah, I got people down pretty good. Like perspective, I'm absolutely terrible at.
Yeah.
Like the buildings he makes, like I'm like, yeah, I could do that, and I like make a line and do this. And I'm like, that's a messed up looking house I just drew there. What's wrong with that?
What happened to that house? One side's on a hill, and the other side is not.
It's just not even. I don't know what's going on with this house here.
Perspective is hard.
It is hard.
Yeah.
But I'll get it.
That's the reason why I think perspective is easier for me, because perspective, there's a trick to it. Figures, you just have to get better at it by drawing it more. Once you get 2-point perspective, you got the dots on each end, and as long as you stay true to those dots, it does the rest of the work for you. I mean, so like I said, you just got to figure out what the tricks are. And stuff like that. But figure drawing, you got to practice that. You got to look at figures. You got to draw figures, and that's all there is to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my favorite story of all time is Star Wars. That is, and another one of the reasons why that's what I grew up with. I grew up with the original trilogy, and then when the prequels came out when I was in my early 20s, that was another big. I mean, I love Star Wars all the way through until today. Like, there was never a portion of my life that I didn't like Star Wars or didn't love Star Wars. I love Star Wars more than any other story ever told, at least 1 through 6. The new movies I take or leave. They don't really count for me too much for most of the part.
Yeah.
Because I like the consistency that's in 1 through 6 as a story. And George Lucas is my favorite storyteller ever. I like the mythology in it. I like the simplicity that goes behind it. I like that parallel between the father and the son and the hero's journey. I like that Luke Skywalker is a representation of Anakin Skywalker, but one was a failure and one was a success. It was like the redemption of not just a father, but also of carrying on it's kind of like, the Bible story, Jesus and his father.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus died for his father's sins, and then in Star Wars, Luke, he pays for the sins of his father by redemption, I guess. But yeah, Star Wars is something I talk about probably way too much.
I like listening to you talk about it, though.
Yeah, my poor wife hears about Star Wars all the time. I'm constantly talking about Star Wars. But yeah, Star Wars is my biggest shaper in who I am as a creator. I also love the idea that George Lucas was a guy who was told no all the time, and I think this is what probably would be a good cap for this live stream and probably bring it to a close. And exactly why I think Kickstarter exists in the first place. At first, I went to Kickstarter because I was like, oh man, nobody will publish my book. I guess I can bring it to Kickstarter. And then I started to realize that maybe like it's better this way. Because we're not answering to anybody when we're doing these Kickstarters. We're putting our ideas out there, and then people are going, oh wow, that looks awesome. Maybe I want that to be made. That normally somebody who is, at a big movie studio or a big comic book company who does nothing but look at spreadsheets all day or whatever and goes, oh, that doesn't sell, that doesn't make money. And that's not good for mass consumption. And I don't believe in mass consumption. I believe in just finding the things that I really like and not worrying about whether or not everybody else is liking them or not. And that's why, like, I guess, like the new Star Wars versus the old Star Wars, it doesn't matter if everybody likes it or doesn't like it. All that matters is that you like it, and that's it. And with this whole Kickstarter thing, I went into it feeling like, oh, well, maybe I'm failing at this, and Kickstarter is my last resort. And now I'm thinking that it's not my last resort, but it was probably the best option.
Oh yeah, definitely.
With everybody coming in and supporting this, and I'm thinking to myself, there's no way I'll be able to get this much money to produce a book. Because that we crunched the numbers, that was what it was cost. There's not like money going into my pocket.
Yeah, no, it was. You knew what you needed, and luckily it met the goal.
Yeah, but then you have people like George Lucas who was told no constantly and said, no, you can't do that. Nobody wants to see a sci-fi movie anymore. And some of that could be true, but. And he wanted to do a Flash Gordon movie at first, and they said, no, we don't want to do Flash Gordon. And he said, all right, fine, I'm going to create my own thing. And
forget you guys.
Yeah, not only created his own thing, but made his own companies and said, if you guys aren't going to help me do this, I'm just going to do it myself. And that is the catalyst for, I think, the idea of what things like Kickstarter are, I guess. Like people, like people like George Lucas and people like Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld, and Jim Lee, the guys who created Image Comics. They got together and they said, we're going to be the change that we want to see. And and that's awesome. Like, that's exactly what I want to do. I'm not. People ask me right now is like, oh, well, the War for Kaleb, what's going to happen with it after this? After this book is done, nothing. Nothing's going to happen to War for Kaleb. There won't be a part 2.
Mm-hmm.
There won't be a like a prequel made or anything like that. That's it. His story's done, and I've got other stories that I want to tell.
Yeah, I think that's good too that you wouldn't want to continue it. I mean, there's just so many books I feel like they're just still going and going when it should have probably just ended a while ago, and it's just the same stuff over again. So it's kind of nice.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And Des and I, we can get fatigued. We don't watch a lot of TV shows. One, there's just so many. Two, they go on and on with no point.
Yeah.
Sometimes. That's why I like the original Star Wars movies, the 1 through 6, is because there was a point. It was very focused, and it ended. And now it's going on, and there's going to be a Star Wars every year. Forever. So it's just kind of like, if it's good, I'll watch it. If it's not, then it's no big deal. To me, it's kind of like more expanded universe stuff. But again, I'm just not really into the idea of things going on forever. Sometimes they're like, oh, I think rather than doing more Star Wars movies, like, there's so many talented people that work on these movies. I would love to see their own ideas being fleshed out. Like you look at somebody like Rian Johnson, who makes amazing movies, and I think that his movies that he made, like Brick and Looper, which are his own idea,
great.
I think those are way better than like The Last Jedi. But Last Jedi, something like that, has the power of the Star Wars logo behind it. But I don't think that equates to good. I think that original, new content, things that we should give a chance, are the things that we should really like pay attention to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if here in those Marvel, the Epic Akira books, right? There are some short stories written and drawn by some of the bigger people in comics, and I had never seen them before, and it's in some of the last issues. And I got to those portions, and they're just kind of like one-offs, and and I didn't want to read them at all. Like, I didn't, I don't need to, because Akira is finished. It always has been finished. It started and ended, and it was a single vision. And I was just like, no, I don't need that. It doesn't. I don't. It could be good. I don't know, but I'm just like, I don't need it. I don't. And that's kind of how I feel about like a lot of the things that are being revamped or brought back. I don't need those things. What I want is I want to see new things. And again, I think that's where Kickstarter is kind of like helping out a lot.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And allowing us to just do that. Go, okay, we can get out in front of people and say, hey, here's something different. Here's something new. And for you guys to do that with me is amazing. And again, I can't thank you guys enough.
Yeah, to see how many, see all the pledges and people supporting it, it's like really awesome.
Yeah.
So there are definitely days where I know I was all like gung ho in front of you, but sometimes I think to myself like, oh, I hope we make it. I hope Jason's project gets funded. Like, I really hope so.
Yeah, everybody was the most positive person about it, and I was the most detrimental person, unfortunately.
Yes.
Not that I didn't think that it wasn't going to happen. It was just, there's a lot of what ifs and all that stuff. And even up to the last minute when we're like close to being funded, I'm like, oh, what if this doesn't? What if like it just stalls out here? Like, that's possible? That anything's possible. You can't, nothing's absolute.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we made it, and now we're just doing an awesome little live stream just for fun and talking to you guys and telling you who we are as people and what we're into and why we're into it, and because of it, these are the things that we made, and you guys got to help get it made. And again, thank you so much.
Yeah. And you won't be disappointed. It's such an amazing story. All our friends and family, or even strangers that have read it, have just like said how like amazing it is. So you're going to get a good book. Yeah.
And thank you guys so much. Thanks for tuning in. And I can't wait to give you the next update on the book. Constant updates. I'm going to let you know when the proofs are back. I'm going to let you know when to expect the book. Like I said, it should be a real quick turnaround. The book's done. So So again, thank you guys so much for helping kickstart this. It's so awesome, and I'm really happy. I'm glad to enjoy this day because the past other 29 days have been excruciatingly painful.
Yes.
So again, thanks guys. Have a good one.
Bye.